Welcome back to another episode of Draft Junkies. I'm your host, Coach Evans, and I have my two co-hosts in the building today from the Deep Cover Podcast. We got Chris Just Joking and Michael Crawford, aka Abukari from Twitter. So, fellas, I appreciate y'all for doing this. Welcome back, and how's your week going?
Going smooth. Can't complain. Ready to get into these edge guys because we need them.
We definitely do. Mike, yourself?
Yeah, everything is good. Can't complain either. And yeah, this has been fun. I mean, I know I missed the D tackles last week, but I watched those guys, and now looking at the edge guys this week, man, it's fun because there's so many guys. It's so deep up front with players that it's just exciting, right? To be able to talk about.
We definitely got to go back on and have another episode of both those positions because it's some guys out there that we haven't talked about that I still think will be legit ballers on both ends and DTs. So we'll get to that once we kind of make our rounds. And in some positions we ain't doing, y'all. So just know that some positions we ain't doing. Because I know me and Chris don't like doing some of these positions. But just know you'll see it. And I'm trying to stay away from wide receiver, y'all. Like even in my personal time, because once I go down Pandora's box, that's what I coached for all these years. I might be there for a while. And then listening to somebody today, I think it was Mel Kiper on Rich Eisen. He said that the wide receiver class is pretty deep, even so much to almost UDFAs. So I'd be interested to get in there because he said it's and I ain't looked at him. He said it's all different kinds. You got tall and fast, you got tall and powerful, you got short and quick, you got short and he just has a plethora of different wide receivers out there that depending on what you need. And so but we're gonna stick to the topic today. We're gonna start with defensive ends. And on the docket, I'll give you the whole list that's on the docket. We're gonna start with my guy, Ruben Bane Jr., root to the Bros, Akeem Meador, both from the U, Gabe, and somebody put this on Twitter for me. Jacas. It's not Jacas, it's Jacas. Gabe Jacas. Then we're gonna come back with R. Mason Thomas, Cashius Howell. Thank you, Chris, for putting that name in there. Cashius Howell. Next up, it'll be David Bailey. Then we'll finish with Kendrick Faulk, TJ Parker. Thank you, Mike, for putting TJ Parker up there too. and Zion Young. And so we're gonna go ahead and get this thing started. Let me give you the intro for Bane and turn the sound off. Hold on. And just stay
our 2026 draft profiles with me.
And you watch Ruben Bane while I read the intro, ladies and gentlemen. Ruben Bane Jr., 6'3", edge from Miami, only 21 years old. 9.804. Only 21 years old. 3 years at Miami, 627 snaps. The defensive grade of 82. This is in 2023. Run D of 70.7. Pass rush of 89.3. 2024, 422 snaps. He got hurt that year. 79.8 defensive grade, 82.7 run D, 72.3 pass rush. 2025, the mask came on. 897 snaps, 93.1 defensive grade, 86.2 run D grade, and 92.4 pass rush grade. He was, and this is among defensive ends, he was first in snaps, third in defensive grade, eighth in run D grade, ninth in pass rush grade, first in pressures with 83, fifth in sacks with 12, first in hurries with 68, eighth in defensive stops with 37, ninth in true pass rush grade at 92.4, and ninth in true pass set win percentage with 30.3. Chris, I'll start with you. What'd you see on tape from Ruben Bane?
Right away, you see a bull in the china shop. He wants to win with power, and just straight up violence. And the fact that he can convert speed to power in so easily, it kind of reminds you of Jerry Verse. They're not the same dimensions. Like Jerry Verse had longer arms, but they both have that I'm gonna run through your face to get to your quarterback type of mentality. And we see in the NFL, tackles are just getting more and more finesse based. And these kind of throwback dudes, because obviously we know the flashy, Von Miller type pass rushers, and then more recently with what's the dude from Oklahoma, that's on the Broncos now,
Nick Bonito.
Benito. Like, everybody wants those bendy, flashy, matrixy type moving guys, but Ruben Bane and Jared Verse, these are throwback dudes. These are the ones who they take their lunch pail to work and they just want to run you straight over. And I love this kind of player. He's going to get dinged for his short arms, and I think that's a fair criticism when you're putting him under the top 5 scope, because when you're in that top 5 category, that microscope is just going to get finer and finer to trying to kind of get to all your flaws. And if you're going to be taking top 5, then you better be the whole package. And that's something that's missing on his profile when it comes to just physically how you want an edge rusher to look. But make no mistake about it, this dude is a baller, and he will be an immediate impact player, whichever team drafts him.
Mike?
Yeah, I think, there's Chris was talking about some of these other types of rushers that are more, kind of the bend the corner, speed rush type guys. But the one thing that I think you can say consistently translates in the league in terms of, DNs, pass rushers, is power and violence. Like, I don't think that ever goes out of style. I don't think you're going to see too many guys not pan out who have those dimensions to their game. Now there's levels to it, whether they're going to be all pros, pro bowlers, just solid, starters, contributors, what have you. But I don't think you see too many guys who are just straight up busts who don't, who play with power and violence. And Chris talked about that. That's his calling card, right? That is Bane's calling card. But it's interesting to me, and you see it in some of these clips. You see it in that clip that's playing right now, is in those obvious pass rush situations, he likes to line up really wide. It kind of reminded me of Suggs. Suggs would line up like super wide, in those obvious pass rush situations. And I was watching or reading something today where somebody was talking about that, not specifically to Bane, but like another rusher. And he was saying how it forces offensive tackles to get out of their set, right? They have a certain way they want to set and a certain point they want to get to, but the wider you get, unless it's a guy who really is confident in his technique and is just going to do what he wants to do no matter what, most guys, you can kind of get them out of their set, right? But I think the thing that I also like about that with Bane is it gives him more of a runway to set up that speed to power move. And I don't know if people really talk about this a lot when they talk about him as a pass rusher. And I'll talk about his run stuff in a second. He's got a really good rush plan.
Yes.
He doesn't have to have like a tremendous amount of moves. We ain't got to talk about 5 or 6 moves. I would say, in my mind, just my opinion, he's probably got like 3 go-tos, right? He's got the double swipe. He's got a club rip. And what's the other one? And then the bull, right? Straight bull. And what he'll do is he'll use them to set up each other. So sometimes you'll see him start that double swipe move early in the game. And then as tackles start to anticipate that and go to shoot their hands or pull their hands back so they don't get swiped, then he'll go in their chest and bull rush. So, and then
it's funny how you talk that up, and he was double swiping, and as you say, a bull rush, that's what he just did. It's crazy how the tape lined up with that.
You can just see it throughout his games that he just had this plan. And I've heard other guys who have, some of the better rushers in the league, veteran guys, talk about that. Like, you ain't got to have a ton of moves. If you've got 1 or 2 that you really have dialed in and you have a good plan for when and how to use them, that's about all you need. 2 good moves and a counter. And he really has that. So, and in the run game, sets a really firm edge against all types of body types, right? Some of these guys, you see them against tight ends, they kind of beat up on tight ends. It's not just that with him. It could be an offensive tackle. It could be a guard. It could be whatever is coming his way. He's going to set that firm edge, and it's going to be very hard to move out there. And then he also, in terms of block destruction, you see that violence, right? When he's going to snatch and throw you off of him violently and get to the ball. So just a lot to like about him. Like Chris said, people will ding him for the arm length. I think other people who want to nitpick will talk about him maybe having a little bit of tightness and not the most flexible, at the top of the rush in particular too. But again, that's what's going to happen when you're under that, top of the first round microscope. But give me this guy all day, right? I don't care what the nitpicks are. I'll take this dude on my team all day long.
And the funny thing is, and I don't have this in my notes, but a lot of people talk about production. That's production. If I'm sacking, did I have the sacks down here? I don't have the sacks down here, but I think he's second or third in sacks. No, he behind Meador. Meador is one above him, but they like third and fourth or fourth and fifth, something like that. So you got production, and this cat's been a stud since high school. 4 state championships in South Florida, Miami Central. 4. You only high school 4 years, so he got 4 of them. So he's a winner. And then what they did with Miami, they didn't win the national championship. And as a fan, I'm extremely proud of what they put on tape last year. Yeah, I know they didn't win it, but I remember this feeling early 2000s, late 90s, to have a dominant Miami team. And he was, I would say, the catalyst of potentially, and I'm going to say it for the first time in a long time, bringing the U back. Now, he ain't the only reason. NIL is the main reason. But he is part of the playing that's I think is bringing the U back. And as far as what I got on tape, you guys said it all, and I could have wrote a lot of stuff down, but I stuck to really short points on this because I know I would go overboard. I got power, his versatility. He can play. I think he can play 3, 4-eye, 5, maybe some 2. I don't know if he can play nose, but I think them other positions he can line up and play. Explosive first step, extremely high motor, violent hands, and then I had him being a winner on there as well. The only negative I have outside of people gonna nitpick about the short arms is sometimes he over aggressive in the run and the pass. Sometimes a little patience will pay off for him. He'll either go past the quarterback or he'll bull or just blow up a guard and the ball will slip right past him. There's a little patience, but I'd rather have to, like we said this about a week or so ago, I'd rather have to slow him down and try to make him speed up, because you can't make him speed up. You can pull the reins on him a little bit. So that's what I have Ruben Bane. Like I said, I could talk forever about him because this is one of the few people I've watched all the games because I watched him as a fan. So it's a bunch of stuff that I could talk about Ruben, but he is, to me, is one of them ones that it's gonna be tough for me to see bust in Ruben. It's gonna be tough because a lot of stuff he do translate to the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we'll move on to our second guy, which is another one of my picks.
And today we're gonna take,
and it is Akeem Meador. Stats for Meador: 6'3", 280, edge from Miami. Now this one's gonna be a little long, y'all, so bear with me. In 2020, he was in West Virginia. I did say 2020, y'all. 243 snaps. And I'm gonna just give his Miami stat. In 2021, still at Virginia, 610 snaps. After that, he got 4 more years at Miami. So he got 2 years at Virginia. Then he come to Miami and got 4 more years. So in 2022, in his purple shirt freshman year, and I just made that up. That's his third freshman year. 369 snaps, 87 defensive grade, 86 run D, and 80 pass rush. 2023, he got hurt, so that's part of the reason why he had an extra one, only had 44 snaps, so I'll skip that one. In 2024, 520, 75.6 defensive grade, 74.2 run D, and then 73.5 pass rush. And then last year, 827 snaps, a 92.5 defensive grade, 88.3 run D grade, and then 92.5 pass rush. He was number 2 among defensive end in snaps, number 2 as far as run D grade, number 4 as four defensive grade, number 7 pass rush grade. He was 4 in pressures with 67, 4th in sacks with 13, 3rd in hurries with 50, and 28th in defensive stops with 29. And Mike, we'll start with you, Akeem Meador. What'd you see? What you like about it? What you dislike about it?
There's a lot to like. I mean, if he wasn't on a team with Ruben Bane, he would be the guy getting top billing on the Miami defensive front because of how productive that he was. But, obviously you can look at the tape and see he's not as thickly built as Ruben Bane, but his thing is more about juice and twitch, right? Mm-hmm. He's getting off the ball. He's a twitchy mover. He's got this combination of speed and power. I'm sorry, speed and bend that is hard to deal with in space. You get him in some space, and it is just hard to get your hands on this guy or keep your hands on this guy. What was interesting to me, though, is how often they'll line him up inside for a guy who, now, you talked about his listed weight, so he's not small by any means, but, you're thinking about a guy with a build more like Bane to kick inside. But even though he doesn't have that same frame, he was able to win inside with guards with that speed and quickness and agility. So, he has that dimension he can bring as well. In the run game, probably not going to be as stout as a point of attack player as Ruben Bane, even though, he can win in different ways. He can defeat blocks in different ways. But as a chase down player from the backside, like a weak side player, he's a demon. Because of that speed. He's an absolute demon. And in terms of maybe negatives that I had in my notes, I said that I didn't see as many counters. And once his initial rush was stopped, I don't think his plan was quite as developed as Ruben Bane's plan was. And then, we just talked a little bit about some of the body type differences, which, can maybe make it a little bit more challenging for him to do certain things in the run game. But and we'll probably talk about this with some of the other guys who are even a little leaner than Meador as we go. There's different ways to use guys and still have them be effective as run defenders, as opposed to just your traditional hammer, get out there and lock out the tackle and keep that outside arm and leg free. I mean, there's different ways to do things. So we'll probably get into that. But yeah, that's what I have from Meador.
All right, before you go, Chris, Mike, this right here was unfair. This was unfair in so many ways to whatever side they decide to do that. You slide Meador in, you got Bane right there. That was so unfair to a bunch of different people. Chris, what did you see out of Akeem Meador?
Yeah, so similar to what you guys said, quick twitch. This dude is listed at 280, and you go back into his history at West Virginia, and you find out he was actually a D tackle there, and then obviously he, as his career goes along, almost a damn decade in college, he kicks in to the outside, and you see this flash of athleticism, and it's like, damn, this dude was playing defensive tackle when he was at West Virginia. It's crazy when you look at just how big he is, and the way that he's able to move is kind of jarring. And physically, he kind of reminds me, it's like the way his college career went is kind of like how Draymond Jones' college and pro career went, where Draymond Jones played in the middle at Ohio State, and then as he went along throughout his career, that he kind of kicked outside in the NFL. And that's kind of the progression that Meador was on in college. And with him, I deadly cross chop. His hand usage is just phenomenal. It's just a flash, and he times it up so perfectly. It almost looks like a choreographed dance between him and the tackle, because it just looks perfect. Right when the tackle's shooting his hands out, he's just there to just swipe him away. So obviously I would love to see him be tapping more into power than he does. Somebody who's played inside, someone who's that big, I would like to see them use a little bit more power and not heavily rely on finesse so much. But I do like the way that he plays through contact. If his initial move is stopped, there's still that motor there to keep going. And we see so many secondary sacks when it comes to just effort. And that's something that with these two guys, you don't have to worry about. Their motor is going to be running hot and often. So he's somebody that, I know he's an older prospect. I think he's going to be 25 when the draft rolls around. But I mean,
I'm older than my child.
He's just barely older than me. Yeah, I'm a big fan of his, and I definitely think he's somebody who should go at the end of the first round, even despite the age and whatever medical concerns people have, because I know he had a foot injury, but I don't think that's a chronic issue or anything like that from what I've read.
Akeem Meador for myself. What I got: explosive first step, He has position flexibility, being he can play, 9, 5, 7, 3, kind of like Ruben. Great hand usage, excellent upper and lower body strength at 280. He moves like if you didn't know he was 280 and you just watch these clips, you be like, no way.
Doesn't look like it.
He don't move like a damn near 300 pounder. But what's the high motor, plays the run well. So people may think he's all pass rush. No, he played the run well, as well. And then he has better being off the edge than Bane. But Bane is just better at more things than him. And maybe that's why they kicked him inside, because he has a little bit more juice for them guards. And that's the mismatch, because the tackle got to go to Bane. And then you putting a guard on Meador with that juice. That's, like I said, that's unfair for a bunch of guards to have to try to block him doing that. And you put both of them on the same side like that right there. They just can't stay in front of him. Because at 380, you preparing for power, but you see very little of it. Now, I think it's in him, especially coming from the D tackle, because I didn't know that, Chris, because I didn't look at none of the West Virginia stuff. I didn't know he was a D tackle there. But weaknesses for him, you could, like, when you look at him, and I wrote this before I knew how big he was, I had kind of undersized. And that's before I wrote, like, the weight for him. Because, most of those guys be 6'4", 6'5", 6'6" off that edge. He only 6'3". But at 280, he don't look like it. He has figured out a way to take care of his body, and it works for him. He needs to add to his toolkit. And he's, again, like Bane, he's over-aggressive sometimes. He'll run past the quarterback or draws will get him, little trick stuff that people have to do because they can't block you. And so slowing down just a tad bit would help him in certain situations. But again, I'd rather, like I said for Bane, I'd rather have to try to slow him down and try to speed him up, because I don't think speeding him up, that's just in you. So Akeem Meador for myself is, I think like Mike, I think he'll go late first. I think you can expect him anywhere from 25 to 32, if not before then.
And I'll be interested to see what he weighs in at the combine. I know some of those guys drop a little weight because they try and run fast, and that might not be what they played at. But like you, Coach, looking at him before I looked up what they listed, I'd be surprised if he's 280. Right. Just to be honest, that would be surprising to me. He looks more like a in that 260 to 270 range type of guy. From just his body, just looking at his body, just like I don't know if I see him carrying 280 right there. But we'll see. We'll see. And again, the combine is not always the true depiction, because, like I said, guys will try to lighten up to run fast. But same thing stood out to me. I was like, hold on.
Maybe
he's not moving like
maybe
this.
His number is from when he was at West Virginia and was playing D tackle.
Could be. But like Chris said, good point about Draymond, because even at Ohio State, I don't think Draymond was ever like 280, 290. I don't think he was ever that big.
Yeah, but since Chris said that, he definitely reminds me of a little bit twitchier. Well, I would just say a younger Draymond, because he's still kind of twitchy. He just he lost a step or two because he's a little older. But I like him. I like both of them. I don't think we'll be able to get either one of them. I think somebody just said that they think Bane gonna drop to 14 because of the arm stuff, but I don't think that's happening. But if he is there at 14. I don't have a table to pound in the office, but I'm gonna be pounding this one on draft night. All right, and so the last of my guys, let me get him up here. Where is it? There he is. At the stage. Today we're going to continue. Turn it down. All right, Gabe Jacas, not Jacas, it's Jacas. And so he's 6'3", 270-pound edge from Illinois. He's number 17 on your screen. Interesting. His entire 4 years at Illinois. That's a rarity in today's college football. I think he started as a freshman with 502 snaps, a 69.9 run D grade. Defensive grade, 64.9 run D, and a 71 pass rush. Sophomore year, 546 snaps, 67 defensive grade, 65 run grade, 63 pass rush. 2024, 692 with a 67 defense, 59 run, 83 pass rush. So that's when he really started to come in his own as a rusher. 2025 last year, 529 snaps, 79 defensive grade, 64 run D grade, pass rush grade, 88.5. He was 48th in defensive grade among edges, 20th in pass rush grade. He had 41 pressures that had him 44th. He had 12 sacks, which had him 5th. Hurries, he was 86th with 22, 38 in defensive stops. True pass set grade was 86.3, and a true pass set win percentage was 27.6. And I'm gonna start with Gabe. I see a 3-4 outside linebacker in Gabe that can rush the passer and get you sacks. I see a guy that's extremely athletic, extremely more powerful than he looks, very skilled as a pass rusher, and I think he can come in and be a pass rush, a third down edge for you right now. He got to get better at defending the run, but as far as his pass rush, that joker's so athletic and can do so many different things, and he can run too. I think he's a 3-4 outside linebacker guy, and I probably should have watched more of his drops to make that decision, but I didn't. I was more so on his pass rush and defending the run, but I probably should have looked at more of his drops to see how well does he drop. But I see him as a 3-4 edge, and maybe in like sub packages he can play some defensive end. But if you do that for him, and if he can drop, like I probably should have looked at, you basically playing an odd or even front with that guy because he can drop out on you. But Mike, what you see from Gabe on tape?
Yeah, one of my first notes was just a solid player, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't know now because we got all new coaching staff, even though the GM and some of the front office pieces are probably still the same. But he just reminded me of kind of like their type of guy, right? The type of guy that they would go after in kind of the mid rounds. Beats up on tight ends in the run game. Not as consistent against tackles, but you put a tight end across from him and it's going to be a long day for that dude in the run defense. An effort rusher, you definitely see his effort throughout the games that I watch. Good awareness. Now you could say, because you mentioned it, Coach, how much he's played, that he should have this, but it's still a note to me that he had good awareness, both as a rusher and in the run game. Like he understood where he was in relation to the quarterback as a pass rusher, and he also diagnosed plays pretty quickly too, I thought. Active hands was another thing that I had in my notes. So just an overall solid player. I didn't see, it wasn't like you see some of these guys and there's like this dominant trait that jumps out at you. Like, oh, he's got, special speed or special, twitch or special this or that. It was just, pretty solid across the board. And just a guy, like you said, you think could come into a 3-4 scheme as an outside backer, probably give you a little bit more, like you mentioned, as a rusher right now, but could develop into a better run player. So there's always going to be a home for guys like that in the league.
Chris?
Yeah, I saw a versatile defender who I think can give you reps on the outside and also on the inside, similar to Tavius, where Tavius he can line up on the inside, but that's not where you're going to have him every time. But on sub packages, you can get him there and create some mismatches with his athleticism against guards. I thought he played with good violence. I thought he took advantage of tackles. Like I thought he used his power very well against tackles, and then I thought he used his quickness very well when he was lined up inside going up against guards. And that kind of versatility, like Mike said, we know that this front office, they love that. And right away when I saw the first game I saw, I think was against Duke, and Duke, they kind of had him, they kind of had the handcuffs on him. Not Duke. I mean, the game plan was just like, defend a run, stay sound, but then as you see the season progress, you kind of see them take the handcuffs off, and you see more of that pass rushing prowess, and you see him develop. And I think towards the end of the year, I forget which team it was. Hold on, I got it right here. It was Northwestern. And he looks like a completely different player, because he's not just playing sound, I don't want to make a mistake football. He's playing with freedom and rushing with freedom. And we know how players are when you kind of take those handcuffs off. And that's what you want to see in the progression of a season. You want to see them get better, get more comfortable rushing the passer. And I thought he finished the season very well, and especially in the Senior Bowl too. You don't put a bunch of stock in Senior Bowl practices, but when somebody goes in there and dominates against some of the best, it it makes you raise your eyebrows and you say, okay, I like that.
I think what you were saying about his, them taking the handcuffs off, he got a good dose of confidence, like realizing, oh, I can play with these dudes, or the coaches realized what they had and was like, oh, we got to turn this cat loose. This be probably the only chance we got to stay in some of these games.
Yeah, and I think I could see that with him because they were not using him that way at the beginning of the season.
And coaches, they ain't perfect. You got to figure out what guys do, what they're good at, and the fact that they adjusted and took the reins off, or he got better. It's whoever figured it out. It's a positive for him because now he's gonna be able to make a little NFL money based off of how they start using them. Because there's a lot of NFL teams can use that skill set. And like Mike said, no real trait just sticks out, but he does a bunch of things well. I think he's a jack of many traits and a master of none. And in NFL, some say that could get you gone quick. I think it helps you out because of the versatility.
Yep.
The more you can do, the more they'll keep you around. So they can find they can attempt to find a straight pass rush guy, or they can attempt to find a straight run guy. You get a guy right here that can do a little bit of both, and even if he's not a starter, he can spell somebody, and if somebody get hurt, he come in and be a starter. You just never know. And he got the tools to be there.
That's so important for building a room out. Like everybody wants the Myles Garrett, Von Miller types. I mean, obviously everybody wants that, but in reality, that's not what you're gonna get. And to build out a room, to build out nice depth, you need players like this. You need players like Tavius who will do the dirty work, who can be versatile, who will play with maximum effort. Like these are the kind of guys that you need to really round out a room. And I think Jacas could turn into a really solid contributor.
You get six guys up front, or just 6 edges. Say if you had 6 Jacases on your defense would be straight. Because they're gonna play the run, they're gonna give you some pass rush, and you got guys that are gonna play with a high motor, and they're not gonna get tired. So if you got if your defensive line group was, or your outside linebacker group was played like he played in college, and not saying it's gonna translate completely to the NFL, you'd be all right without a superstar. Because you got guys that's gonna do stuff right, be where they're supposed to be. Now they're gonna make the splash plays, they're gonna be few and far between, but for the most part, they're gonna be where they're supposed to be, and you can count on them. You have a dependable player. And sometimes that's just as important because those superstars tend to do the heck they want to do, especially when they get results early.
Yeah, and I was gonna say we saw that in the Super Bowl.
Yep,
right.
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
Their edge group, it was about quality and depth, right? You didn't have a Myles Garrett per se. You didn't have, that top tier, high level, that dude, but you had a good group with a lot of depth, and you could just keep rolling them dudes out there, and it was going to be hell on your offensive line all game long. So that's not just in the Super Bowl, but
really last year.
Yeah. And I was gonna say, you just see that now across the league a little bit too, because that Ravens system, the McDonald version of it, you starting to see that spread a little bit, right? Mentor was with the Chargers, now he's here. Weaver was in Miami, but now he's back here. Denard Wilson, was in Tennessee. Now so that they like this profile in a edge type player. So there's like I said, there's going to be a home for this type of guy, and there might be more homes for this type of guy now because of all the reasons y'all just laid out.
Also, team captain too. They like that.
They love that.
Yes, they do.
Senior bowlers and team captains, they love them.
All right, let's transition to guy number 4, who I think is, yes, it is, R. Mason Thomas from some of your host coach
Oklahoma,
Arkansas, right?
And today we're going to continue our draft series.
Okay. I didn't, for some reason, I didn't write his school name up here. But R. Mason Thomas, mute, play. Oklahoma's right here. Number 32 on your screen, 6'2", 249. Oklahoma all 4 years, which is a good thing in this day and age. 231 snaps. As a freshman, 60 defensive grade, 55 run D, 65 pass rush. Sophomore year, 175 snaps, 67.2 62 defensive grade, 63 run grade, 65 pass rush. 2024, 529 snaps, a 72.3 defensive grade, 64.4 run D, and a 87.3 pass rush grade. So you see where the switch flipped for him as a pass rusher. And then last year, he only had 372 snaps, but he had an 85 defensive grade, 79 run D grade, and a 90.4 pass rush grade. Had 28 pressures, 19 defensive stops, 6 sacks, 3 quarterback hits, 19 hurries, true pass set grade of 86.5, and true pass set win percentage of 35.1%. Chris, we'll start with you with R. Mason Thomas.
Another captain of the team, just putting that out there. We know that they love him. R. Mason Thomas, I mean, undersized pass rusher, but I don't think he's built like other smaller, undersized pass rushers. I think he shows flashes of being able to convert speed to power. I think he can hold up better against the run than his size would lead you to believe, but it's still not something that I would say is his calling card. Like there are times where you see him on tape and you'll be like, oh, he held up against that. That's impressive. But it's not on a down in, down out basis where you see Ruben Bane being able to take on, just destroy and deconstruct blocks. That's not going to happen with R. Mason Thomas. Obviously, he's twitched up. I think he's a better quick twitch athlete, like in small spaces. Like he has the quickness to him. I don't think he's a souped up athlete, like as far as being able to, just go sideline to sideline, or because there's somebody on here who will speak about who I think is just a twitched up, quick athlete, the whole nine. I think he's more of the short area quickness, bursty type of guy. But I was a little bit disappointed with his tape because when I saw him go up against the better tackles, there was a lot of struggles. A lot of struggles.
The genetics kicked in.
Yeah, and there's only so much you can do, when you're not, 260, 6'4", 260 with 33-inch arms. There's obviously there are going to be guys when you look at somebody like a Trevor Gooseby, who probably would have been in the mix for one of the top tackles this year. When he went up against him, he had a hard time. And obviously in the NFL, we just saw Mike Green kind of go through his little bit of struggles as a pass rusher. And you can be as bursty as you want, but like you said, Coach, those genetics, they take over, and sometimes you see that lack of strength, that lack of length show up on tape. And it's going to be something that he'll need to figure out, kind of like Mike Green. We didn't expect Mike Green to be a full-time player, and he was pretty much a full-time player for the Ravens. I think the plan was for him to be a DPR, designated pass rusher, out the gate.
Right. And
I think that's the plan that you want with a R. Mason Thomas, is you want somebody who can start off. All you need to worry about is rushing the passer on third down. That's all you need to worry about.
Yep.
Now, if you put him in a situation like Mike Green was in, I think you're going to see some struggles. But I do think this is somebody who you can take and then groom to, hopefully be somebody who can turn into, obviously the go-to is Nick Benito, because that's the, that's the small guy for all of these undersized pass rushers. But I think he'll be a good DPR to begin with.
We talk about him being undersized. Then that son gonna turn around and do this. Not this one.
Oh, the speed, the power. Yeah.
Is it this one? Yeah, this one right here.
This one.
And then he turned around and do this.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But what I got for him is fluid and real bendy on the edge. His agility and quickness is probably some of the top in the NCAA right now. Violent hands when he wins the hand fight. Great in pass, but okay in run with his hands. Pass rush upside. We talked about that. Like he's going to be a designated pass rusher to start with, at least if I think that, because I think, like Chris mentioned with what's our kid Green, when they got rid of Owe and like, hey, these are your reps. I ain't gonna say that stunning his growth, but that I don't think that was an ideal situation for him just yet. But what I do think is those reps will pay off in this upcoming year as lessons. And so I think he'll be better for it this year. But I think in the moment, with us trying to actually go and win games for real, Super Bowl, it was a tough position to put him in. But I guess once we started off so bad, they was like, forget it. Let's go ahead and start worrying about his next year and do what we need to do. But and with the concerns, obviously for him, he's undersized. Run defense, that if the better tackles get on him, he can't get off. It look like the tackles lit brother than him. Durability is a red flag with him. Like, I called out snaps for some of these other guys, and his biggest snap, like the last person we had in my mind had over 2,000 snaps when I kind of quickly added it up. He only got 3 and 8, maybe 1,200 snaps, maybe a little bit more than 1,200 snaps, just with some quick math. That's a huge difference. And some of that size could be the problem.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if we want to speak in terms of Ravens, we got a guy on the team that fits this role, and he didn't even get out the practice squad this year. The kid from North Carolina.
Oh, Rucker.
Yeah.
Rucker. And Rucker tape looked really good to me last year. And I don't even think he got drafted. All right, next on our list after R. Mason Thomas.
Hold on, Mike didn't go.
Oh, my bad. I jumped in and kept yeah. My bad, Mike.
Hey, I think I might have talked about this guy first like 2 years ago. I can't remember when I was sending Chris and Kerry clips of this dude like 2 years ago, because he had some game. It was like the end of a game, and he had like 3 sacks in like the fourth quarter. I was like, who is this dude? So I started just kind of keeping an eye on him from a distance. But yeah, if out of all of these guys that we talk about, he was a guy that I also had DPR, designated pass rusher, in my notes, because maybe 1 or 2 of the other guys we're going to get to who have similar type of pass rushing, you could see them in that role. They're going to be drafted too high to only be DPRs, right? You go as where those guys are projected to be, you got to do a little bit of everything. But this guy, speed rush is his calling card. All right, that's what it is. Yeah, he can do some other things, but speed rush is his calling card. But here's the thing for me where I struggle with him. If you're going to be a DPR, to me, his hands and his feet were too disconnected as a rusher. And I think that's why you see, aside from the genetics, which like you guys both mentioned, that's a factor too. But there were just instances where I would watch him and I'd be like, wait a minute. Your hands are doing one thing, your feet are doing something totally different. You're not going to be able to consistently win rushes like that.
Right.
So I'm like, if pass rush is your thing, you got to have a little bit more coordination, because that speed rush can be nullified, right? Guys can get to their set and get out there and kind of cut that off, get to their spot, get out there and kind of cut that off. And now what are you going to do now, right? I get out of my stance, I'm boom, boom, and I'm where I need to be. Now what you going to do? So you got to have a little bit more. I liked his effort running to the ball. I think there was a clip that Chris showed on here where he ran, 30, 40 yards down the field chasing them. It might be this one right here.
Oh, yeah, that's why I put it on there, the chase. That's why I put it on here.
Yeah, and you see that consistently throughout his tape. He definitely runs to the ball. We talked about the run game struggles a little bit. I said he's not a point of attack player in the run game right now. I actually said he was marginal in that area, going back to some of my old scouting academy terminology, which is like below average when you say marginal, unless he's slipping blocks, right? If he's got to like take on a block, it just won't go happen consistently. But if he's slipping, if he's a spill player, which they use him in the run game, and that's kind of what I was alluding to earlier. I was like, some of these guys, if you're trying to use them as traditional point of attack players, that's going to be a challenge for them. But if you make him like a spill player and just say, hey man, go attack that B gap. We're going to line you on the outside shoulder type, but you spike in that B gap, and we're going to have linebackers, safeties, other people who scrape, and you make the play bounce and we'll chase it. Okay. He could probably do that for you, but offenses are smart. They got counters to that too. So just throwing that out there. But dangerous inside move. Talked about his speed and how he can use that. Again, another weak side kind of demon in the run game, chasing plays down from the backside, but not overwhelmingly physical, but he does compete. to Chris's point, like you seem like he not just gonna lay down in there. Now, he might not always win that battle when it just comes to strength, but he competes in there. So some things to like about him, but I was just like, man, if you're gonna be a DPR, it's good that you have this speed rush, but you're gonna need a little bit more.
All right, and that is R. Mason Thomas. Next on the list is a guy I thank Chris for putting on here, because even though I saw one game of his
To Tyler Films. Host Coach Evans.
He kind of jumped off the page for me a little bit. It is Cashius Howell, number 9, from Texas A&M. Where I get the height and weight from, it says 6'2", 248. I'm gonna leave it at that. First 3 years at Bowling Green. He's number 9 on your screen, people. 43 snaps at Bowling Green his freshman year. I think he maybe got hurt, or that was a red shirt year, because that's all he had. But then the next year he had 189 snaps with 67 defensive grade, 2023, still at Bowling Green, 73.5 defensive grade with 532 snaps, and a 90 pass rush grade that last year at Bowling Green, 90.3. Then he transferred to Texas A&M, where they got money out the wazoo. 485 snaps with a 82 defensive grade. He got better as he went up in competition. That's always a good thing. Numbers wise, 74.2 run D grade, a 91.4 pass rush grade. And then last year, 591 snaps. And for a while, if y'all don't know, they was undefeated. 82.7 defensive grade, 73.6 run D grade, and then another 90 pass rush grade. So for the past 3 seasons, 1 at Bowling Green, 2 at Texas A&M, he's had a plus 90 pass rush grade. And Mike, we'll start with you on Cashius Howell.
Yeah, got better, to your point, Coach, going up in terms of competition level. And I think, y'all can fact check me if I'm wrong here. I think in 2025 he was an All-American and also SEC Defensive Player of the Year, which is crazy if you think about where this guy came from at Bowling Green, and then in 2 seasons at I think that was in his bio at Texas A&M, but somebody can fact check me on that. But I was like, good Lord, that's serious right there. But one of the first things I had on him, contrary to what I just said about R. Mason Thomas, coordinated hands and feet in his rush. It's all linked and synced together, right? He's got that stuff on a string, and you can see ghost move specialist. He loves that Von Miller ghost move. That is one of his favorite go-tos. Athleticism to bend and speed to threaten, play strength to turn the corner at the top of the rush through contact. Now, I wanted to be very specific with that because in the run game, you can see where his play strength can be an issue, especially against offensive tackles, that point of attack type of player I've been talking about. But when he would get to the top of the rush and guys would get their hands on him, if he wasn't able to kind of win with that ghost move or dip and bend underneath him, he still was able to turn, right, with a guy leaning on him, plant and turn and get back to the quarterback. Yeah. So
I was right on point, boy. You be timing it up, and you don't even see these videos.
Yeah, it's all there. It's all in the film, man. So that kind of stood out to me. Looked very comfortable in coverage. I tweeted out some clips about that. I think either last night or earlier today, because that's something I didn't necessarily expect to see. Sometimes you see these guys who are really good pass rushers. They can look very uncomfortable in coverage, but this guy looked comfortable dropping. Even saw a couple reps in man coverage where his guy caught the ball, but to have to cover a tight end as a defensive end edge player and be in phase, that's not something you always see. But then, the one negative, kind of big negative I had was about that run game, about the play strength versus offensive tackles and how, he can kind of get turned out, kicked out in the run game. But, for everything else that he brings to the table, we got a lot to work with, right? We can work on the run defense and how we want to use you in that phase of the game. But there's a whole lot to work. He's an ascending player in my mind. I think this guy is still on the rise. I even went back and watched his huddle highlights at high school. This dude was playing some wide receiver at high school. So I was like, man, they were using that. And not unusual, right, Coach? You know that.
No, definitely.
The best athletes, guys playing everywhere, right?
My first year coaching, we had a defensive end wide receiver. I joke was 6'6".
Yeah, that's kind of Cashius. You can see he was one of the taller guys in his high school, against the teams they were playing at that time. And it wasn't like he was just burning down the field against guys. They were kind of near him, but they would just throw it up and he'd just go up and get it. And that journey, like I said, to see where he's come from high school to Bowling Green to now Texas A&M, I think he's still ascending. So lots of light. And I really liked him. I'd seen clips during the year, so I knew there was buzz, but I was like, okay, yeah, I can get behind this right here.
All right, Chris is one of your guys. Cashius Howell.
Springy first step, coming off the snap, very explosive, bendy. Whether he's using an inside move or an outside move, like Mike said, thought he looked very comfortable moving backwards and in space. And like, of course, what Mike said, playing through that contact, like just still being able to propel forward or propel to where he wants to go in the direction he wants to go to. That's not something that's easy to do. That's not something that edge defenders can all deal with when they get contacted. Can they play through that? Can they still get to the point where they want to go to? We see a lot of guys get jolted off of their track and not be able to recover. With Cashius Howell, he just has that spring like in his ankles, or the ankle flexion that he has. He just propels forward. Now, the lack of size is going to be a big issue. Because you can see it in the run game where there's sometimes where he just gets engulfed and overwhelmed, where he's just not able to hold up. And, we spoke about arm length when it came to Mason Thomas. This dude might be worse when it comes to arm length, because they're saying that he might be sub 31. And if you go look at sub 31-inch arms for edge rushers, that list is not pretty. Not pretty. And obviously, you can say, arm length doesn't mean anything, but there are times where you see it against the better tackles. I mean, it's one thing to look good against this dude Barber,
which none of us liked.
Right, is one thing to do that, but then when you look at the film against the better tackles, again, another guy who did very well against him, Trevor Gooseby from Texas. Trevor Gooseby, he handled him pretty easily. And every week is going to be a Trevor Gooseby in the NFL. So, that's just my concerns with him. But there's definitely a place for this dude and the skill set. Like, let's not get it twisted. This is a guy who 10 years ago, my panties would have been in a bunch for this type of player, because I just love the flashes of this type of player. And I've had to learn my lessons the hard way when it comes to this type of edge rusher, because it's flashy, it looks great, but then when you get to that NFL level, you get a harsh reality. And I think this is somebody who teams are going to have to be patient with. Teams are going to have a plan for him, because he's not going to be able to fit in every scheme. He's not going to be able to do everything. But the fact that he can,
the landing spot.
Yeah, and the fact that he can rush the passer, the fact that he can drop into coverage, that's going to be so valuable for him. So valuable for him, because obviously we know the more that you can do, and he can do some really, really nice things. So if he can find a coach who can be creative with him and put him in positions to succeed, this dude has a lot of natural ability to be a damn demon on third downs.
What I have for him, before I start, he caught my eye the Miami game, and then he didn't go off, and but there were some reps where he just completely embarrassed Francis and is it Bell? Is Bell the other tackle? I think it's Bell. For Miami.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was like, who is this dude? And I think, if I'm not mistaken, he got a sack or two, but when they decided to like forget this, we just run the ball. He did kind of Homer Simpson in them bushes. He kind of backed on up. But as far as a pass rusher, his first step is like none other. And I wanted to throw this by you. Like, just take this rep right here. See how his body kind of stays at that angle? He does that a lot. It's like he's not parallel, he's not perpendicular, he's like in the middle. And I'm wondering what kind of advantage that gives him. Maybe it gives him the ability to go both ways, or what? but I ain't really seen very many guys that kind of rush with that angle. That stood out to me. But I definitely think he's a DPR to start off with. 3-4 outside linebacker. And a lot of the stuff that y'all said, I agree with. With the only thing difference is, I didn't think he looked comfortable in coverage, but I feel like because he didn't do it enough. I feel like I saw a couple reps where they look good, but as a whole, I thought he wasn't comfortable doing it. But then I was thinking like, they probably ain't even asked him to do it that much, and they did. It wasn't a lot. He did it, but I feel like the more he do it and the more he gets reps at it, he'll be good at it because his natural athletic ability and his hips are crazy. The fact that he can rush at that angle, you got to have good hips.
Yep.
Because I'm gonna assume he's setting up to be able to go both ways, and at that angle, that people can't do that. That's a different technique. So I like him as you come in as a specialist and maybe grow into something else. And specialists, they make good money. 10, 12, they live in that 10, 12, 13 round sack, and they'll be there for a while. And eventually, as they put on weight, they may become better at the run.
That's one of them ability linemen, coach. They say if you can only do it if you have the ability to line up like that. Everybody can't do it. Right. But I've seen that before where you teaching a certain kind of thing, and then you got one guy and you're just like, well, hey, you know what? You got the ability. You do you do what works for you. Like when Odell came and the little clip when it was like, I think it might have been Pro Shea. Like, if we do one hand, you all over us. Keith looked at him like, shit, that's Odell. It's different set of rules for them cats. Right. I think that's Cashius. All right. I ain't skipped nobody this time, right? No. Nope. Next up. My paper's blank, so I'm going digital now. If I think it's David Bailey. David Bailey. I keep wanting to call him Philip Bailey, but it's David Bailey.
I'm your host, Coach Evans.
Let me pull up so I went digital after Cashius Howell. I ain't writing all this stuff down. Now I'm typing. So I got to pull up my digital notes. David Bailey. Oh, there it is. This is the defensive end from Texas Tech. Texas Tech. And why did I say Kendrick Faulk? I bet this thing changed my stuff. Because I had it on auto save. I bet this. Well, look like it did. So David Bailey, I'm going off memory here. I think he led the NCAA at 15 sacks. He's
welcome back to Sip the Tide.
Menace off the edge. I guess I don't have my notes here, so I'm gonna kind of rely on you guys. But I just know I think he led the NCAA in sacks. He started at Stanford, so he's a smart guy. And he is the best swagless player I've ever seen.
No in college football. No gloves, no sleeves on the arm or the leg, not even a towel.
He got the created, the blank created player look.
The default.
Like default a black player. Trey Hendrickson.
Chris, I'll let you start with David Bailey while I search for my notes over here.
So you said it, former 4-star recruit. He was at Stanford before he transferred over to Texas Tech. And when he got on the Stanford's campus, he earned playing time immediately. Became a pass rush specialist, able to generate a bunch of pressure against opposing quarterbacks. Texas Tech, they opened up their wallets and they was like, we need that over here. Mm-hmm. And it was money well spent. He's very active, very intentional with his hand usage. I don't know what his arm length is, but they look like they're long, and he uses them effectively to create space between him and pass blockers, that's exactly what you want to see, because in the NFL level, all of them guys are big, all of those guys are strong, and you're going to need every advantage that you have. And so the fact that he's able to use his arm length so well, it bodes well for him at the next level. I think for as good as he is as a pass rusher, you don't really see that tenacity as a run defender. And it's kind of like when we watch Arnez Cooper, or as coach calls him, Arnez J. Cooper.
Actually, see, I got you putting the R in there too now.
Arnez Cooper. So with Inez Cooper, we saw a guy who was tremendous in pass pro, but then in the run game, it's not that he can't do it. It's just you didn't see that same attention to detail that you saw in the run game, that you saw in the pass game. And with David Bailey, I think he can defend the run. Like, I think he has the violence and the explosiveness to defend the run, because there are times on tape where you see it. It's just not consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And like, what's going on there? There's because when he's rushing the passer, you see the explosiveness, you see the tenacity, you see the violence. And I think the more you get into his tape, the further the season goes along, you see him tap into that power a little bit more and that violence a little bit more than you do in the beginning of the season. And I just want to see that for the whole part of your game. I don't just want to see that as a pass rusher. And if he can, blend everything together and show the same type of attention to detail as a run defender that he does as a pass rusher, obviously he's already one of the best edge defenders in the class, if not the best. But I think that definitely quiets down some of the questions that you have with him when you talk about a player who can be on the field for first and second down, not just somebody who will start off as a pass rusher. Because if you're taking him this high, he's going to have to be on the field
right
all 3 downs. It's not going to be, oh, you're a top 10 player, you DPR. Hell no, get your ass on the field. But I did like him. I thought there was definitely some stiffness to him. He isn't as bendy or as loose-hipped as some of these other guys that we've spoken about. I think there is some tightness there, but just the explosion that he plays with, the creativity that he has with his moves, I was a fan of his game.
Yeah. Thing with me is when I watch these games of Bailey, it was fresh because I heard people talking about him, but I didn't see a game, and I didn't see highlights or anything. I could hear his name, I could see his name on Twitter a lot talking about him, but to watch his tape and to see what he can do at this size is crazy because he's a decent edge setter. Now, I ain't gonna say he's gonna make that tackle for you, but he's good at getting past the tackle and turning it back to where the help should come in. He ain't dominating that edge. He's just basically doing his job. And then when it comes to pass rush, that's when he turns into a whole different animal. Mm-hmm. But again, and me and Cole talked about this too. I think Mike in the group too. He did kind of disappear a little bit versus Utah. Utah potentially got 2 first rounders, so he did kind of disappear there. But everybody else, I would say domination.
Yeah, and I watched that one today, and I specifically wanted to see him against their 2 guys. He went way more against Fano. I want to say he had 20 something snaps, and he had maybe 7 or 8 against Lamu. I got a little bit of a different perspective on that after I went back and saw it, because I'm like, okay, there's a couple different things going on there to me. You got to really isolate it to true one-on-ones, not just true pass set, right? Not just that category, that PFA, true one-on-ones, because I'm like, they had a back.
Where it's man versus man, no help, nowhere.
Yeah, either had a running back or a tight end helping a lot, even in just those matchups. I came down to just maybe, I think I wrote down maybe 6 out of those 30-something reps that were true one-on-ones with either him or Fano or Lamu. And not that Fano and Lamu didn't win some of those, because they did. But I would say it was like half and half between who won the true one-on-ones. Bailey won some, and then those guys won some. But
every other game, it probably was 80-20.
Right. And the other thing about that game, too, is you have to look at how they were using him. They were asking him to be a B-gap player a lot in that game. So he wasn't really – he might line up on the outside shoulder in the tackle, but he was working into that B-gap a lot in that game. So some of these things where you're like, okay, well, he's got to now get back outside. And that's something I'll just switch over to my notes right now. So that was one of the things that I had in my notes was, as good as the production was, if he were able to line up like where he is in that clip right now more often, I think he would have won even more, because they put him in a lot of tight alignments in Texas Tech. And I was like, that ain't necessarily going to showcase his athletic ability, right? The way that being in space does. Not that he couldn't win from those alignments, because he did, but I think he would have won even more if you kept him in more of these wider alignments. But that's their defense, right? So he's playing within the defense.
If he had the freedom to do it like Bane did.
Yeah. Give him that runway, because now you see he's starting to tighten. Even this one a little bit tight. That's not super tight, but he's got some other ones where he's almost like head up or like a 4-high.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that's not going to maximize what he can do. But to the point about the bend, y'all both hit on it. I didn't really know how to phrase it, so I said he turns the corner more than he bends it.
That makes sense.
I mean, I don't necessarily see that real bendy, flexible, like get that crazy shin angle.
Walking the curb rather than running it.
Yeah, he can turn it. There's no question he can turn it, and he can do it with the best of them. But I don't necessarily see, like, you see some of these guys with these crazy angles when they bend. Think about like a Daniil Hunter or somebody like that, just like or Vaughn in his prime, just crazy angle. I don't necessarily see that, but that doesn't mean that he's not really good at the top. That Bailey's not really good at the top of the rush, because he is. We all talked about the point of attack in the run game, especially against. Now, this is true for anybody, right? Anytime you got to take on a combo, I mean, it's 2 versus 1. But them trade blocks, or is the tight end and the tackle, boy, they was walking that boy back up to the I was like, whoo. Now, every now and then he would split one, and again, using his athleticism, right? If he can play that way, if he can be a spill player, he's going to be able to be effective in that way. Let's see, what else did I have on him? DB like feet. I thought his feet were that quick with how he changed direction, especially in his rush. When he's able to make those offensive linemen, what I like to call in-flight adjust, right? They want to go one way and you got to make them go another way. They struggle with that. And he was really good at making people do that. Go ahead.
Nah, just that move.
Yeah.
That spin.
Yeah. He's got that. He's got an inside spin, which is really good. He's got that inside outside the Euro step. That's really good. He can do he's got a pretty decent bag. Again, it doesn't have to be crazy, but he's got a pretty decent bag. But his athleticism, that's it, right? That's right at the top of my notes. Speed, quickness, athleticism. That's what his game is all about right now.
And again, my notes for him are in the cloud somewhere. But I gave you at the top kind of what I can remember. I do know he was number 1 in sacks. I think he had 15. And his first 3 years were at Stanford, and he transferred over there when Texas Tech opened the pocketbook. And like Chris said, money well spent. So now we'll get into Mike's 3.
I wonder, do they do incentives in NIL deals? Because maybe that's why he was playing the pass like that. Maybe he had a sack incentive in that band for him.
Maybe.
Right. It's a difference.
The next guy up is Kendrick Faulk.
Coach Evans. And today we're going to continue
that. Let that run. All right. I got notes for Kendrick. 6'6", 285. Now, he looked 285. Unlike our other 280 guy, Meador. Edge from Auburn. He's number 15 on your screen. 2023, 441 snaps, 67.5 defensive grade, 71.4 run grade, 60.8 pass rush. 2024, 591 snaps, a 83.8 total defensive grade, 83.4 run D, and 72.5 pass rush. And in 2025, 556 snaps, 75.9 defensive grade, a 85.5 run D grade, but a 66 pass rush grade. He had 30 total pressures, 2 sacks, 1 quarterback hit, 27 hurries, 23 defensive stops, and an 11.4 pass rush win rate. Mike, you can start with Kendrick.
Yeah, so there's going to be a theme here with some of my guys, well, at least 2 of the 3, where there was more production, and we were talking about stats, right? Just talking about numbers. There was more production in 2024 than there was in 2025. And you're trying to ask yourself why. I think with one guy, there might be a little bit more of a clear explanation than the other guy. And so Kendrick is the one that I had a little bit more trouble. TJ Parker, we'll get into that. But just going through my notes, I had closing speed, right? That kind of stood out to me for a guy his side. Like, if he had to chase down the quarterback or chase down ball carriers, I like the way that he closed. Flashed a good get off. It was a little inconsistent, but when he wanted to get off the ball, he got off the ball. Active hands, and he had, again, I'm just comparing the move, I want to caveat this disclaimer. I'm just comparing the move, not the player. But Suggs used to do this swipe move, right? Not the two-hand swipe, just where he would get his hands in your chest, and when you try to go and like knock his hands down or punch, he just snatch them away and then just dip right under you. And that move right there, he used that move a lot. I've always been a big fan of that move. Let's see, he's tall with long limbs, but I don't see good change of direction. He had some trouble wrapping up QBs and getting them down after winning his rush. I thought he played a little bit too high. Tackling technique needed some improvement. He's a more consistent run defender right now than I think he is a pass rusher. He's not an edge burner, right? So now we're switching into some guys who are in a different category with the guys that I have. These aren't your bendy, flexy, edge burner type of guys. And then again, that last note that I had was more production in 2024. And I even asked myself this question, why? So that was part of my challenge to myself. Go back and watch 2024 and 2025 and try to figure out, what was different, between the two seasons. But he has some things in terms of traits that you can't coach. You can't coach 6'6", 280. But, we'll see what he's actually measures in at the combine. But, that's getting off the bus, right? There ain't no coaching, there ain't no developing that. And for a guy with that size or close to that size who can move the way that he moves, there are definitely traits to work with, but there's just inconsistency there that I'm like, okay, well, when are we going to get all of this out of his body that I think we can get out of his body? What's going to be the timetable for doing that? And can we do it? I think you can, but, landing spot is going to be important for him, like it is for all of these guys. But certain guys, I think it means even a little bit more.
All right, Chris.
So like Mike said, I thought he was a very stout run defender, who was very sound in what his assignment was and just keeping gap integrity. I thought he did a phenomenal job at that. There's a bunch of guys who we watch, whether it's defensive tackles or edge guys, who we just see them not play sound defense at all. And with this dude, you pop on the tape and you see somebody that the coaches are going to love because they know that they can trust, like, you're going to be where you need to be. And we know coaches love that. And for a player who's so young, because he's only 20 years old. So for a player that young to play with so much discipline, I think that's something that coaches are really going to like. Lines up across the line. You could see him line up on the inside. You could see him line up on the outside. For me, I didn't see. To me, I saw a lack of explosion to consistently threaten the outside shoulder of offensive tackles. I didn't see tackles really be nervous about the speed off the edge. And if you're going to be an outside linebacker or edge player in the NFL, and you don't have that threat of speed, it could be a little bit rough for you. Not to say you got to be the fastest guy off the ball, but the fact that you didn't really pose much of a threat for college tackles with your speed, it's a big red flag for me. And I wonder if he'd be better off as 3-4 DN, kind of like a Art Armstead, somebody like that who can play on the inside a little bit better and use and take advantage of his athletic ability against inside going up against guards. I think he might be better off there than he is primarily lined up on the outside. That's not to say that he can't line up on the outside, but I think he might be better off kicking in inside, especially when you look at the size that he is and the fact that he's 20 years old. I mean, how much more can he strength and mass can he add on to that frame?
Right. And I was having problems trying to classify like what I would call him. Initially in my mind, I had a 4-3 edge, but you had to have good D tackle play. But when you said the 3-4 defensive end, I'm like, yep, that fits it right there. That Brent Urban type role that we're accustomed to. He could play that because I think that's kind of what they had Tavius in as well for a minute.
Yeah, he's either that or he's this. You don't see this as much anymore. because of how multiple fronts are. But he's like an old school 4-3 strong side in. You know what I mean? Like somebody just put over the tight end and just go like bang on that tight end all day long. You don't really see that role as much anymore. But yeah, I could see him as a 3-4, like a base end and a 3-4. And yeah, it's going to be interesting what he can develop into as a pass rusher, because you didn't see him out on the edge a whole lot. Just on the 2025 tape, I didn't. Even though I might have some clips where I tried to find something out there too, because I wanted to see that too, Chris. Like you said, I was like, I don't really see a guy who's like stressing tackles, you know, in terms of having to get out of their set and get to a spot against this guy. So I wanted to see a little bit more of that too, and it was hard to find a lot of those clips. So I'm not really sure about that for him at the next level. So yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe 3-4 defensive end is kind of the fit for him. He's if he's a true 6'6" and 280, I mean, he's got the body type to do it.
What I have for him, obviously, as a run defender at this point, run defensive is his best trait. Versatility in alignment, I think he can play 3, 5, and 7. Maybe not 7 as much, because now you need to be a legit pass rusher if you do that. So I think he can play from probably 0 to 5. His physical temperament against the run is really, really good. But one thing about him being physical that I don't like, it don't translate to me, is he don't do well versus double team in the run game. Like, he ain't figured out a way to, like old school, they used to tell us to grab grass, or now I think they taking a knee and splitting and doing stuff like that. He can't. I don't see him turning double teams into 1v1s. I feel like they putting it out there and he just taking it, going for a ride. So he got to do better at that, especially if he's gonna slide in there and be a 3-4 defensive end, because double teams are coming. You got to have a better plan to deal with him, because he has the size to do it. Prototypical NFL length and body frame. So, you know, that's a positive for him. So that alone is going to get him a chance. Concerns, doesn't have elite athleticism that's needed to be on the edge. And y'all talked about that earlier. And then I already spoke about the other one, handling double teams. I just feel like he needs a better plan in handling double teams if he's going to play anywhere close to the B gap. They're coming. No matter what run concept is coming, they're coming. And any closing remarks about Kendrick Faulk?
Especially if they see you can't be stout against it, is definitely coming. Even more than it was already coming. Oh, and I just remember I dropped this in our little group chat. I forgot that I didn't send you the link to the clips for these. Like, I actually had clips for these guys. I was like, hey, okay. I had to send Coach the link.
Yeah, and all I'm doing is just I take the video that I did on the other channel and just let it play with no sound. Because I done kind of tightened it. I done tightened it.
Yeah, this time I cut the sound off. I made sure that, you know, I took care of everything we talked about taking care of. So these clips are all good for these three guys. Yeah, these is all set. I actually sat at the laptop and did it the proper way this time, instead of just screen recording with my phone. I got so lazy. So I was like, you know what? No, let me do this right. Give y'all in the audience why you see the different types of videos I'm putting up here. So if you see it like this, with none of the black in it, I did on my laptop, because my laptop can do one feature that my desktop can't, and I can actually crop where I want to cut. I can't do it on my big computer, which I'm on now. If you see the ones with the circles in them, that's on the big computer. So I did them at home. So this at lunch, and the ones with the black in them at home. So that's, you know, I probably wonder why you're seeing two different films, and now you know. Oh yeah, I had the circles and everything. You'd have been proud of me, Coach. I'm your host, Coach Evans, and today we're going to continue with our subjects, the 2026 draft. Taking myself too fast. All right, T.J. Parker on your screen, number 3, 6'3", 260-pound edge from Clemson. 2023, 464 snaps with a 77 defensive grade, 83 run grade as a freshman. 69 pass rush. 2024, 640 snaps, 88 defensive grade total, 80 versus the run, 86 versus the pass. 2025, less snaps, 548,
and this is one of the guys Mike talked about earlier, a lesser defensive grade, 80.7, lesser run D grade at 77.5, and a lesser pass rush grade at 64.6. He had 41 total pressures this year, 6 sacks, 11 QB hits, 24 hurries, and 22 defensive stops. Chris, I'll let you start with TJ Parker.
Yeah, TJ Parker, he's a guy who came in with a lot of top 10 hype for the season. And when I see that, I automatically think like, all right, this dude's going to be a finesse pass rusher. Like that's what I just always automatically think. And I was surprised. I was pleasantly surprised because I saw a player who did the dirty work. He was not somebody who was flashy or just playing out of control. He was opening things up for his teammates, and he was doing a lot of the dirty work. And I love that in a player. A guy who can sacrifice some of the glory that he'll get for the sack numbers and all of that in order for his teammate to get a sack. I love that. And I think he still looks like a player who's trying to figure things out as far as being a pass rusher. I feel like you see a lack of a plan sometimes when it comes to him. You see somebody who he definitely wants to use that long arm. That's something that he loves to use, that long arm. But I think you still see somebody who's trying to put it together. And he's a young player, another young guy. And there are some similarities between him and I know people gonna hate it, but between him and Owe, where Owe was coming out and Owe was somebody who did the dirty work. He was good against the run. He was a guy where you can pull off stunts and he would do them. He would execute them effectively. I think TJ Parker is like that same type of player, like mindset wise, but that pass rush level isn't there yet. And I think that's something that needs to catch up to his game. And that's something that was always there with Owe, where we were just waiting for the pass rush to catch up. Like he had the physical tools, the physical ability, but the plan wasn't always there. And I think TJ Parker is similar. I don't think they're the same player, but I think it's a similar type of profile where you see somebody who's a good run defender early on, but that lack of pass rush still is still leaving you to be desired for more.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised with what I saw on tape. I like, even though the numbers don't say, what they said last year, what I got from him is elite functional strength. Like his strength and his fluidity kind of work hand in hand, and he does a good job of working with leverage and understanding his body and how he can win certain reps and when to go powerful, when to use speed. He does a good job of understanding that. He controls the run game fairly well. He's a extremely good edge setter, especially using that long arm and making sure the outside arm's free, making sure nothing gets out there. So you need that in an edge guy. If he can control the edge and he gives you some pass rush, you're getting 2 of the 3 things you need in an elite guy right there. His pass rush, his toolbox I think it's pretty good. You never be complete, but he got a plethora of moves that he used, and he do have a go-to, and he got a count out to go to, but then you see sprinkled in some other things, and I like that about him. Like Mike said earlier about somebody else, I think he more so turns the corner. I'm gonna use your same terminology, than bends the corner, but his ability to stop and start is elite. To change direction, that's elite. And then his pass rush angles could be better. So, like you said, Mike, if he would align wider some on true pass rush situations where it's pass rush, he'll be a problem. Because most ends won't have the elite kickback to get to him. They'll have to open up and turn. Then that opens them up to every other move he got.
Yeah, I pretty much had everything that you guys talked about. I said he was a fluid mover for 6'3", 260. That's his listed size. Plays long, loves the long arm. He's a long arm and a speed to power specialist. Sets a firm edge, has the play strength to strike and shed OTs and physical versus tight ends in the run game. I thought his get off was inconsistent, but he flashed the ability to play on the other side of the line of scrimmage. One of those guys, like when he wants to get off, he can get off. I liked his effort in terms of running to the ball. You always saw him running to the ball, no matter where it was. Even getting downfield and jumping on fumbles, they're happening 20, 30 yards down the field. So you like to see that. I talked about what you just said, Coach. I said, wouldn't say that he's bendy, but he can turn the corner at the top of the pass rush. Violent, active hands at the top of the pass rush. And, just some of the off the field stuff, because it kind of caught my eye because you don't always see it. Seems like a mature guy off the field, right? Got his degree, graduated in sports communication. He's married to a Clemson volleyball player. And, you talked about some of the things that he did early on there because he was an All-American as a freshman. And then I think last year, that 2024 season where he had all of that production, is 6 forced fumbles, which I think was a school record. So somebody, and I think I shared this in our little Twitter chat too. Somebody had tweeted last year. It was going into this year. So I think it was after last season. They were kind of projecting it forward, comparing his stats to Abdul Carter's because, and this is what I was saying about the change for him versus 2024 and 2025. So Tom Allen, who I want to say was the defensive coordinator at Penn State, who had Abdul Carter, he came to Clemson. And so people were kind of projecting that for us, saying, okay, well, look what this guy did working with Abdul Carter. TJ Parker's already coming off this good season in 2024. Imagine what's going to happen in 2025. Well, it didn't really, match up statistically the way that people were projecting. But that change in coaching, they had DJ Durkin, who was their defensive coordinator 2024 and 2025. But I think Allen left. And so I'm not sure, if that's something that impacted him because I think Allen was listed as co-defensive coordinator and a safeties coach. So he might not even be working with TJ Parker. I think Chris Rump was working with the DNs, and people might remember that name. I think he played at Duke. I think Chris Rump played.
He did.
So, and he was there in 2024 and 2025. So it could just be, where, hey, you had this really good season. There's a lot of expectation. And then, for a variety of reasons, things just aren't as good. Right. We know that firsthand, right? As Ravens fans about coming off a season with a lot of expectations. And then for a number of different reasons, things don't even get back to that level. So who knows? But I'm always interested in that when production changes from year to year, like trying to figure out why.
I did manage to grab the tweet you were talking about. That's comparing him to Abdul Carter here. So you guys can take a look at that and see kind of what Mike was talking about as far as the numbers.
Yeah, I don't know who this Ross Taylor guy is. I guess he's a Clemson guy. But I saw this in TJ Parker's bio. I didn't know what those numbers were. I had never looked at it for those two guys. But when I saw it, I was like, that's interesting. He actually had a really good 2024. And then, things kind of fell off 2025. And you could say that for the team as a whole at Clemson. I think coming off last year, there was a lot of expectations, whether it's Peter Woods or just the team overall. Gabe Kludnick, all these guys. And, it just didn't go well this year.
Agreed. Last name on the list. Where's the best number in sports? That's number 9. Zion Young, edge from Missouri, 6'5", 262. Started at Michigan State in 2022 with 183 snaps, 66 defense, 70 run, 54 pass rush. Sophomore year, still at Michigan State, 556 snaps, 64.7 defensive grade, 69 run D, 55 pass rush. Transferred to Mizzou. 2024, he had 486 snaps, 79 defensive grade, 79 run D grade, and a 71 pass rush. And then last year, 569 snaps, 85 defensive grade, 86.6 run D grade, 82.7 pass rush, all highs for Zion. He had 57 pressures, 8 sacks, 17 QB hits, 32 hurries, 31 defensive stops, a 78.7 true pass set grade, and a 25.6 true pass set win percentage. Mike, we'll let you start with Zion Young.
Yeah, and I don't have a ton of notes on him because I was just like, look, this dude is physical and he plays with an edge. Okay, that's kind of the crux of it. More of a power rusher than an edge bender. when you watch him, you don't necessarily like some of these other guys we looked at, and you see, the athleticism kind of jumps off the screen, and you don't necessarily see that when you watch Zion Young from an athleticism standpoint. Not that he's a bad athlete, but it's not like watching David Bailey or Cashius Howell. It's different, right? It's more of that power, I'm gonna run through you type of mentality. But I think the top note I had on him was just he's a ball player. Just bottom line, he is a ball player. And what I'm still trying to figure out is how they got him to Michigan State out of Georgia. He went to Westlake in Atlanta. And then I looked and I was like, okay, maybe. So the guy who recruited him is Michigan State's D-line coach, this guy named Ron Burton. And Ron Burton, man, he's had some commits. He had Derek Harmon. He had Montez Sweat. So he's been able to recruit some dudes. And so I was like, okay, maybe he's just that good of a recruiter. And that's how they got. And Zion, I want to say he might have been a 3-star coming out. So maybe he just didn't have the hype. Say what you want about the star system. I know everybody, feels some type of way about it, but it does play in to sometimes, whether
the
guys
opportunities you get.
Get the attention, what I'm saying. And this better than me, because sometimes it just takes a certain school to offer you, and then everybody else jump on the bandwagon, right? So
let Georgia offer you as a friend to a friend. You're gonna fool the world.
So but yeah, like you said, transfer from Michigan State comes to Mizzou, and people, if you're talking about that level of competition thing, you might say, okay, Big Ten, Mizzou, but that Mizzou's in the SEC. And so, he's going up against now the best of the best, in my opinion, in terms of college football, and has, his best year, right, in 2025, and then goes to another Senior Bowl guy who goes there. And I think, by all accounts, had a pretty solid week. So to me, another guy who I just felt like, okay, under the previous regime, this was a Ravens type of guy, right? Just physical, plays with the edge, power first type of player, and just bring your lunch pail. It's going to be a long day, type of dude.
Chris?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing you notice is just physically, like how impressive he is. NFL body right away. Like, this looks like a dude who you could already see him. Like, if you just saw him, like, you'd be like, oh, this dude's on an NFL roster. He does not look like a college kid. So that's very impressive. And then he has the power to go along with it. I don't think he's a twitchy athlete or anything. I kind of think he's a monotone rusher. And when I say monotone rusher, he just has one speed. And he doesn't pace it. He doesn't switch it up. And he's just going at that one speed that he has. And when offensive tackles can get comfortable with your timing and the speed that you play with, it's going to make it difficult. And when you just want to play with that one speed and just win with power, you kind of see the struggles against better tackles. To me, he reminded me a lot of Michael Clemens from Texas A&M a few years ago, and who's on the Jets now. And kind of the same type of build, almost like Greek-like body, Greek god-like body, plays with an edge, plays with an attitude, wants to have that power base to his profile. And I kind of had a difficult time with him. I heard Mel Kiper say that he's going to go in the first round. I don't see a first round player, but I don't know where Mel Kiper's getting at, but if he's saying it, he's hearing it from somewhere. You could have whatever opinion you want on Mel Kiper, but he's hearing that from somebody up top in the NFL. So, but I don't see a first round player. I see somebody who can be a contributor, like we spoke about, someone who can kind of similar to Michael Clemens, where Michael Clemens, he's a contributor. He's not a guy who you're going to count on to be your guy, or maybe even be the second guy in your pass rush room or your edge room, but somebody who can come in and give you some quality snaps in the game when your two main guys are getting a breather.
First thing I'll tell you about these is watching these clips. I had to watch these joints 2-3 times because Mizzou got too many single-digit defensive linemen. They got 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, McClellan is in there. Yeah.
Wilson.
Come on, man.
Wilson,
who's
going to Miami, transferred.
So what number is that? 7?
Number 8, I think it is.
Oh, okay. Come on in. Come on. Come on down. Weather's fine. Weather's fine. NIL is fine too. What what I have for him is prototypical size for NFL edge. Athleticism for him is okay, but it's more of like a straight line speed than a, like you mentioned, like a no hezzy, no herky jerky in there, but it's more like a straight line speed with an occasional change of direction that he'll hit you with because you're getting straight line, because he's gonna give you so much straight line at the same speed. He can't get you with that quick crossover, but it ain't something that I think he can depend on in the NFL, because the tackles in the NFL are just plant and go back inside with that inside hand, and he'll go flying if they get him right. Scheme versatile. I think he can play a regular deep, like a 4-3 defensive end and a 3-4 outside linebacker. I should have watched more of his drops, but did any of y'all pay attention to it in dropping, or did he drop much?
I don't think he dropped much in the watch that I did. As I was looking, if there's some that are worth clipping and putting in there, I'll put them in there, and I didn't really come across too many of those. So.
I saw Wilson drop more, number 8. Okay. Wilson is more of like their do it all kind of player, kind of like a K'Ron Crawford, I think it is, from Auburn.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Kind of like him, where they just have him doing a little bit of everything.
Okay, and that's the one that's going to Miami.
I think his first name is Damian Wilson. I believe. Okay. I think that's his first name, but it's number 8 right there.
Appreciate you, Mizzou. You groom them, and we get the wins with them. Thank you much. Thank you much. So I would say a 4-3 defensive end or a 3-4 defensive end slid inside. I think him inside pass rushing from there will be a lot better than him outside pass rushing, based off of what he's shown on tape. Negatives. The pass rush tool belt is limited to speed and one little move off that speed. I don't see much with the hands. If it ain't speed and like using shoulder lean and stuff like that, which everybody do, I didn't see much there. There at times you see other moves, but not enough to call them consistent in no way, shape, or fashion. And I would expect him to have more sack production. Just, because we was talking about production of the top guys, Bane, Meador, Bailey, with the sacks. I would expect him to have more sack production. But then I think about it. My bias had to kick back in. My SEC bias. Mm-hmm. You playing a lot better tackles on a week-to-week basis. And Mizzou's not one of the better teams in the SEC, so they're playing the elite of the elite in the SEC. So that's kind of what I chunked that up to. But overall, a solid prospect. Based off what Mike said, past regime, he'd be one of the guys that they probably would target. I don't know, where this new regime is going, but I do like the start of it. The past 2 days and today with some of what they were talking about. I'm even more of a believer in Declan after hearing him talk. Anthony Weaver, you don't have to sell me much on him, man. With Weaver. Not with Weaver, with I can't think of the kid name. That's crazy. What's our coach name? Mentor. Whatever doubts I had about him was, and I ain't have many, was thrown out the window with his choice of attire today. I thought he was so fly with that. Like when Big Witt used to wear it on Thursday Night Football, the vest with I thought that was tough. Yeah. I thought that was tough. And then he popped out with it today. I like, yep, Mentor. You the new guy. You the new guy. What'd you guys take from the press conference, if you had a chance to leave and look at it?
Yeah, I saw it. Remember when I watched it at some point during the day. I don't think I saw it live, but I went back and watched it. But yeah, I think I was telling you guys about it. Maybe I just told Chris and Kerry. I don't know. But I said, they're very sharp, right? All these guys are very sharp. And like you said, Weaver, you kind of know. Weaver, you can see why his name is always floated, aside from checking the Rooney Rule box, which is a whole nother conversation, but we got to be real talk. But if you are just going on merit, you can see why his name is always, because he just carries himself like a coach, like a head coach, like a leader, right? And it's just comfortable. It ain't forced. It's just natural. Not saying that the other guys are. I mean, Mentor is very natural too, but he's younger guys. So is Declan Doyle. But they're all sharp guys, and they all want to explain the why behind their talking about their philosophy, or the things that they want to ask players to do, or the way that they, want to approach things on defense or offense. And, I think, you probably know this even better than I do, Coach. These players, it's different. It's different than guys just do it because I say do it.
I used them exact words yesterday.
Yeah, they want to know why. They like, okay, I hear what you're saying, but why are we doing it like that? So, and that's not, if you a coach, you got to evolve, right? And you should be able to explain why you're doing things the way that you want to do. Because I think one thing that Declan has said, both when he was doing the one-on-one and during the presser, is like, anytime he gets that age question, it's like, look, guys don't care as much about age if you help them get better, right? If you help them make money through getting better, you don't really care who it's coming from. You know what I'm saying? But you have to be able to explain why, and develop that relationship and earn trust, and then for them to also see results, for them, to accept that why. So I liked it. I liked everything that I heard about it. Of course, I love CoCap. Told you, CoCap energy. Stay on 100 in all settings, on the field, off the field, coaching,
press conferences.
It don't matter. It don't matter. So yeah, I like what they're building. Now, of course, this is all fair and well, right? Fine and well, but you got to get it from these environments to the grass, and time will tell if that happens. But all we can do is evaluate what we see right now, and right now, I like what I'm seeing and hearing.
Like an old country saying is, now they got to get the butter from the duck. Yeah, that's what they had. They got to get the butter from the duck. Chris, what you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, I like what they said, and like Mike said, that's all we could go by for right now. But so far, I like what I'm hearing. I like the philosophy that I'm hearing. I like the fact that they're talking about giving players the tools to be able to adapt to what they see on the field. It's one thing to just say, "Oh yeah, you got to do this, you got to do that." The fact that you want to show them the why. That's so important to me. And that's something that came up time in and time out when players were talking about Mike McDonald, players on the defensive side. They were like, he's teaching us what we have to do and why we have to do it. It's not just be in this spot. This is your job. Do this right here. He's saying you have to do this because X, Y, and Z. And that's how you have what Anthony Weaver was talking about too, a cohesive unit moving as one. And I, to me, that's music to my ears. And not like what Mike said, let's see it on the field now. And that's, after we do free agency and the draft, then we'll finally be able to get to see something in training camp. And, hopefully it what they're saying comes to fruition on the field.
When piggyback off something you just said, when he teach them the why, like you have to be here because of, like you said, X, Y, and Z, that's subliminally teaching them the rest of the defense. And so then making them interchangeable at different positions, which is another thing that I liked about Mike's defense. So I'm teaching you got to have this drop zone because it's going to affect, this Waller and the deep safety on his backside. So he keep hearing that. He realized that, if I play this position, I got this on that. Or if I play the deep safety, I got this on that. So not only is he teaching them their responsibility and why it's important that they do their responsibility, he's learning the responsibility of other positions. And if they have to play in those positions, now you got a multiple secondary where you can put them anywhere. And if you got guys that know multiple positions, you can line up 11 across every time, and they can all be somewhere different after the snap. So I love them doing that aspect of it. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is season 2, episode 4 of Draft Junkies, defensive ends. I think we brought you 9 different guys, some explosive guys, some run first guys, some guys that, I wouldn't say tweeners, but they do a little bit of both. And so, as far as what we do here, we'll be back next week with a different group. Haven't decided on it yet, but if you're watching this on the replay, put in the comment section who was your favorite edge rusher out of this group and who was your least favorite, and you put it down there why. Within the first 48 hours, we'll talk about it. After them 48 hours, I can't guarantee I'm gonna respond to it. With that being said, that's our episode. I appreciate you, Chris and Mike. I was glad to see both of you guys got your mugs. So you in business now.
Hey, in one piece.
Got it in one piece, right? It ain't tore up today. Hey,
Yeah.
those of you that don't have yours, my Teespring store, go get you one. Go get you one. So that way, when we up here talking, now you can get into a habit. What you gotta do is practice. I'm gonna do you like I do my kid. You gotta get in practice before you take the test. So this whole off season, when we come on here, you need to have your mug, take your little sip or whatever. So by the time the season get here, you already know what to do. So this is practice. And we ain't talking about Allen Iverson practice. We talking about real practice.
Real practice.
And so this is also, was this a deep cover podcast episode for the week? This a deep cover podcast episode?
I would say so.
I was
there it is.
I can't even remember the last time we talked about one recorded episode. It's been
mind you, we talk every day.
Every day. And then we just I don't know. But at some point it'll happen.
Yeah.
When it happens, be there. I'll be square.
Mm-hmm.
So know it. Again, follow them at Deep Cover Podcast. You see it behind Chris' head. And it's also in the little picture for every thumbnail. And we appreciate you guys and enjoy almost 2 hours. We got a long one today, boy.
Mm-hmm.
We out, man. Appreciate y'all.
Peace.
Sip responsibly.
Exactly. Sip responsibly. That need to be the end tag.